Nobody told me that. I need 10 more minutes. Wait. You look very cute. Look, everybody.
Back up.
We're very excited about this debate. This is my opponent, Michaela. Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself, girl.
Hi, I'm Michaela. I'm a part of Blax Seoul. I'm on the management team and I'm a contributor.
We're very excited to be here. If you don't know who I am, I'm Chili. I'm the founder and CEO of Blax Seoul. And like I said before, we're just excited to get this debate started. So we're going to go over a couple of the rules. That way everybody knows. We kind of talked about this on our Twitter a little bit about how we intend to keep everything mad respectful. We want to be respectful of BTS. We want to be respectful of all of the BTS army out there. We don't want to offend anybody. And we ask that y'all have the same respect for us. So we did come together and put a couple rules together just for this debate. So the first rule is that we will adhere to allotted time allowances. So I'll go over the debate structure in like a couple minutes. The next rule is that all arguments must be supported by facts. Rule number 3, text and physical evidence. So we both have notes prepared for this debate. We actually really did our research for this. We're very, this is very serious.
All my stuff is in my notes.
It's very serious right now. The fourth rule is to be respectful. Not just us, but we ask that everybody that's watching this debate, please be respectful. We have a moderator in the debate, so if you acting up, you will get booted. You heard me, you getting up out of here. We're not playing it, okay? The fifth and final rule is to make sure we have fun. So this is what this is all about. It's about having fun. It's about being able to hear people's different perspectives on things. So let's get into the debate structure. We'll both have 5 minutes to give our opening statements, state our opinions, state what's up and how we feeling. Then we'll both have 15 minutes of open discussion where we can go back and forth and really get that dialogue pushing and moving, you know. Then for 20 minutes, we'll be answering the audience questions. So if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and start putting them in the question box right now. Stop what you're doing and put them in the question box, okay? Then for the last 10 minutes, we're going to go live with 2 people from the audience. So make sure y'all start requesting to go ahead and join up in this thing. But I think it's time. I think we're ready. I'm nervous.
I know. I'm like on my notes. Oh my God.
So I am on the side of the BTS. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't even think we told y'all what the debate is about. This debate is about if BTS paved the way, yes or no, okay? I'm on the side that says no, they did not, and Michaela believes they did, so this should be super interesting. A little background about myself. I'm not into K-pop like that. I don't know nothing about K-pop like that, but I do know BTS didn't pave the way, okay? That's what I do know about K-pop. So let's get this thing started with our opening statements. So since 2012, with Psy and his Gangnam Style, people in the West have really been impacted by the Hallyu Wave. In 2012, Obama himself actually gave a big shout out and recognized the Hallyu Wave. Those of you who don't know what the Hallyu Wave is, Hallyu is the Korean wave. The Korean wave of influence, pop culture, all that, okay? Back in 2014, 2NE1 actually did a commercial for Microsoft. It was international in Canada, in America. It was that one song that's like, da-na-na, da-na-na. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Is that song. So it was really popping, okay? But the problem with Psy and 2NE1, all these people who got people to kind of pique their interest into Hallyu culture is that they couldn't keep that attention on Korea. That's kind of where the difference comes in for BTS. When BTS started out, we all kind of know BTS wasn't like a lot of other companies. They didn't come from a really big company with a really big budget. When I studied in Korea, my professor is actually really good friends with BTS's original like team or whatever, management, producer, something like that. And they were actually putting up a lot of their own money, working part-time jobs and whatnot to really get their own name out there because they didn't have the support and backing of a big company. So I have a lot of respect for BTS and their grind and getting things together. But one thing that BTS did that nobody else at the time was doing was engaging in that social media. Social media marketing really became a big thing around 2014, around 2015, around that time when BTS was debuting and coming out. And BTS, unlike any other K-pop group, was out there really interacting with their fans on social media. So they engaged in a way that fans had never been engaged with before. You know what I'm saying? This engagement from BTS to their fans. It really led to BTS having a really loyal fan base. Like, we all know the ARMY. I'm not gonna say anything about the ARMY. We all know ARMY is very serious about BTS. The ARMY became extremely loyal, and the ARMY started to promote BTS in a way that it was never, ever, ever done before. You feel? The difference, truthfully, that I believe when it comes to BTS and other groups, whenever they release new music, they're constantly having to rely on new fans. But BTS doesn't need to do that because they have the ARMY, and the ARMY does so much to promote BTS. You know what I'm saying? I saw a tweet the other day from somebody in the ARMY talking about how BTS has been on the charts for weeks, and we probably don't even realize that, yada, yada. But they were saying that the reason that BTS has been on the charts like this is because ARMYs are constantly streaming BTS content, constantly. Nobody else, what other fandom is constantly streaming their group or their bias the way that ARMY is doing that? You know what I'm trying to say? It's just a really big difference in that. I see so many tweets daily from people in the ARMY, like, telling us the proper algorithms that we need in order to make sure that BTS is successful. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if you're gonna be streaming on this laptop, make sure that you don't have the sound off. Make sure that you're doing this, make sure that you're doing that. And other groups and other fandoms don't do that for their groups. The same way that the ARMY is loyal to BTS, BTS is extremely loyal to the ARMY. You know what I mean? BTS came to smaller American cities doing tours, and just really tried to engage more in the ARMY than I feel other K-pop groups try to do with their fandoms. I really believe that majority of BTS's success, and this is not to take away from anything that BTS does, it's genuinely not. I believe BTS is extremely talented. It's not about that, but I believe the majority of BTS's success comes from the success of the ARMY. It's the ARMY that's promoting them. It's the ARMY that's doing things to make sure that they stay relevant. That's the difference between BTS and other groups like 2NE1, like SHINee, like everybody that came before BTS. Everybody talks about BTS's accolades and all the awards that they've won, but the first award that BTS won was fan nominated. I don't think that BTS is getting all the opportunities that they're getting because of their talent, which is a shame because BTS, like I said, is extremely talented. I don't think that they're getting all of these things because people are recognizing their talent. I think people are recognizing the popularity and recognizing how far and how much the ARMY will do to ensure BTS's success. I really think that if American and Western audiences appreciated BTS's artistry more than just their popularity, that BTS would be on shows like The Color Show instead of Ellen. If you don't know what The Color Show is, it's a broadcast that comes on YouTube where performers go on live and do live concerts. Why is BTS not on there when Dean, Crush, DPR Live, and other artists from Korea have been on there? You know what I mean? I don't think it's about BTS's artistry. I think that we can all agree that BTS is extremely talented, but hundreds of other groups since the early 90s have been paving the way for BTS to be where they are today. And I think for as much as BTS does when it comes to making sure that they understand their roots. We all know BTS went back to LA to understand the roots of hip hop and all that. I think for as much as BTS does to acknowledge the things that came before them, I think it's kind of an insult to take away the things that came before them when that is what really built up BTS to begin with. So that's my main argument. That's my opening statement. What you got?
I have a lot of notes. Okay, so basically, I just wanted to say before the conversation was like, I don't come here to be right. I just wanted to have a conversation start. So basically, for my opening statement, I have to say that although I don't completely disagree with my opponent's side, this is just my opinion based on the information and things I've seen over the last 3 years. I became an ARMY in around April 2017. So they kind of stuck with me after my friends introduced me in high school because of their personalities and how much they incorporated that into with their music. My main argument for this conversation, though, would have to be, one sec, I'm sorry. Okay, so the reason why I do believe BTS paved the way is because BTS allowed K-pop to be accepted mainstream in the Western society, especially in America. liking K-pop is more acceptable now because of BTS. Prior to BTS success, it was known as an intimate community because it wasn't mainstream in America. You couldn't find artists performing at award shows and performing at New Year's Eves. And I'm not denying the success of prior groups, especially Big Bang, what Big Bang did for K-pop. But you have to be into K-pop to know about the prior groups. Unfortunately, it still wasn't mainstream at the time. People who don't even follow K-pop know who BTS are. They talk on talk shows, selling out stadiums, and non-K-pop groups have sold stadiums in the States before, and celebrities name drop their names all the time for exposure with BTS. Okay, and then other generations and groups allowed their music to be here in the US and introduced the culture to America, but BTS paved the way for K-pop to remain in Western society. There was no way that like Super M would be successful after they debut if it wasn't for doors and exposure that BTS had. BTS has always mentioned other groups and that they looked up, but none of the groups have done what they're doing. And if you look at the statistics and the popularity and the revenue, it kind of explains all that. So those are like my main points.
Okay. I think those are some good points. My first question for you, I know that you said that BTS kind of made things kind of more mainstream for K-pop. Do you really think that here in the States, like K-pop is at that level, like it's mainstream, or do you think people just kind of, they know about it? You know what I mean? Because I don't hear K-pop on the radio, you know? It's not popping up, like I'm not in Walmart, it's not playing in the background, you know what I mean? What do you define as like mainstream?
I guess just because like it's so huge, like it's on stuff that like you would never see before, like James Corden and different talk shows. Things that we wouldn't probably otherwise see back then, where they have opened up the doors for it to be now. Like more people are hearing about it versus if it wasn't like for BTS's impact and stuff, like it probably wouldn't be as popular as it is now.
So do you think that with like BTS having these opportunities to be on talk shows and all that, and other artists also having these opportunities to be on talk shows, do you really think that all of that is attributed just to BTS?
No, not just to BTS. Like what I'm trying to say is that like because of their impact and popularity now, like it's opening up the doors for the future for other groups that
Okay.
otherwise it wouldn't be if they hadn't been like so popular.
Okay. See, I think a lot of the things that we're seeing with all these K-pop groups coming on to these talk shows, these K-pop groups kind of being more relevant in Western media, I think it has more to do with people kind of having their interest peaked in all things Korean. You know what I mean? From K-dramas to K-beauty. I mean, K-beauty is everywhere. You know, at the same time, whenever before BTS became popping, like how they were popping, around that same time, Sephora started featuring K-beauty lines, right? I think it's got a lot to do with everything that's coming from the Hallyu Wave and the accessibility of the Hallyu Wave, and not just solely BTS. You also talked about celebrities name dropping. This is one of my points that I brought up. I don't think that celebrities are name dropping BTS because they recognize BTS's talent. You know, I think that they name drop BTS for clout, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I think it's, I guess, a little bit of both, or it could be just what they're like, it's like saying to us, but not really what they believe. But according to like stuff on I see on Twitter on like the daily basis, there's a lot of artists that are like they're so talented, I want to work with them. I do think, and I do agree with that point where they notice how much they have like the popularity and stuff in the U.S. They're like, whoa, like what's going on with them? But yeah.
right. I think one thing, like, about BTS. A lot of people talk about how many different artists that BTS have worked with, but producers, black producers, namely mainstream black producers who produce most of the content that we listen to on the regular, have been producing things for K-pop artists since the early 2000s. I don't think that BTS is doing anything new in that aspect.
Um, I can't really argue with you there on that note. Yeah, I really can't argue with that.
I think it's just kind of that now that Korean like culture is more popular, it's more accessible, that people kind of know more about it. Now some of these artists are kind of coming forward and talking about the things that they do for Korean artists and the things that they do with Korean artists. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I don't think that that necessarily has to do with BTS, because I mean, there's a group called God that came out in the early 90s. They actually did a song that came from Tupac's Dear Mama. It's called like Thanks Mom or Song for Mother, something like that. And Tupac is actually listed as one of the composers on the song. But I mean, think about back then when in the 90s, when there's a lot of racial tension between Black people and Korean people. It's really hard for Black people at that time to admit that, like, hey, I'm openly working with Korean people. But I think now with globalization and the fact that we're all kind of like more connected, I think that that's really opened up the doors for people being more willing to kind of let people know, like, hey, I've been in Korea. You know what I mean? I've been doing things in Korea. Because I mean, how many times a month does that old video of like Usher pop up where he was like in Korea? You know what I mean? Like back in the 90s, like this stuff has been going on, you know? What do you think like BTS does differently than other groups? Like, what is BTS doing that's like completely different? What's out of the box?
My main point that I feel like everyone knows, and even you mentioned, is definitely technology is the key factor to the worldwide success, because without it, I really think it would have been a lot harder to even brush the door. Because now that we're all so connected and stuff, things go viral all the time. And with that, it was definitely a key factor. I did want to make a point though. So if we look at the definition of pave the way, is to make progress or development easier. And I think that's exactly what they're doing now and currently. Because to make progress is to move forward. And you're going towards something. And for development easier, the next generation is going to have it a lot smoother.
Okay. Yeah. I agree that that's happening, but I don't agree that it's BTS that did that. And the only reason that I don't agree that it's BTS that did that is because, I mean, K-pop's still not mainstream. You know, I think K-pop's getting a lot more recognition. If we go back to talking about like Psy and 2NE1 back in the 2010s area, whatever, I think a lot of people's interest is being piqued. You know what I mean? But I don't think that it's necessarily because of BTS. I don't think that it's necessarily them that's like making people continuously buy and consume like Korean content like that. I think that it's more to do with technology than it is to do with BTS, because I think that the people that came before BTS made it easier for BTS to get where they're at. You know what I mean? And BTS might make it a little bit easier or I'm sorry, not a little bit. I don't want to trivialize what BTS does, but I think BTS might make it easier for other groups to get recognized, other people to know these other groups. But are they actually being recognized for their talent? Are they actually being recognized for their music? Or are they just being recognized for clout? You know what I mean? I don't think that anybody's actually like, I don't think that these people are going on the James Corden show. I don't think they're going on Ellen, and then people that are at the show, watching the show or watching the recording afterwards are like, ooh, I want to know everything about Korea. I want to know Korean language. I want to know this. I want to know that. I don't think that people are at that point where K-pop is something that like they actually care about. I think it's more something that it's just kind of the cool thing, the trend at the moment. You know what I mean?
Before I like kind of go into that, I did want to bring up some other points though. So I was doing a lot of like research just to kind of back, because like I said, I've only been into K-pop for 3 years. Although I don't discredit Wonder Girls and like Psy bringing attention to K-pop, but it was said that he was looked at more of a character than an artist.
Okay.
So they didn't really take him that seriously. And I know he's done other things too, but like it's not really like continuously being like talked about.
Right.
And then I did want to.
I was just agreeing.
I'm sorry.
I do a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 second. And then I wanted to say also about Wonder Girls. I was seeing some stuff about Wonder Girls. Aside from what like the fans are saying and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Sumi, that's an artist that's been in the game for over a decade. She admitted in an article that was written by Billboard saying
Mm-hmm.
that she thought like someone basically said like we think Wonder Girls paved the way, and she's like no, BTS. And then she went on further to say while other artists did work in the US, their impact wasn't nearly as much as BTS.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I I can agree to that to some extent. I think, like I've said before, that a lot of BTS's like success is attributed to the army and the army's promotion of BTS. I don't necessarily think that it's BTS themselves. I think that if anybody had a fan base as loyal as Army, if anybody had a fan base that's doing as much as Army is constantly doing to promote BTS, if Psy had an army for himself, I think Gangnam Style would have been more than just Gangnam Style. I don't think he would have been kind of the one hit wonder that we think he is here in Western media.
I mean, that's definitely a valid point. But I did want to say, just so like it's clear though, I think they're still like they began the construction of paving the way, but they're still in like the midst of finishing it. Like it's not completely like this is still so new to
Right.
everything. So like people are noticing BTS and stuff and talking about them a lot more, but like it's still long from being done.
Right. I 100% agree with that. And I think that's where a lot of people get kind of caught up in this whole thing about like, did BTS pave the way or not? Because I mean, if we're being honest, like they're not playing BTS in the club. Like, you know what I mean? BTS is not, K-pop in general is not where K-pop should be in the West yet, you know? And I think that's where people kind of get kind of caught up where it's like, there's still so much more work to do. How can you say just because this person's done this amount of work for it doesn't mean that it's finished, doesn't mean that it's all the way there yet. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find my other points. There's definitely a lot to even like further grasp of how much they like affected like everything. And it's not even I feel like it goes beyond just their music and stuff. People love them for like their personalities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like what they're doing in South Korea alone is bringing like it's phenomenal. Like we really haven't really seen it as much as this now. So like I was reading and it was saying like they have an economic effect of 5.5 trillion won a year. There's an increase in tourism, improvement in investment in stocks, growth of the Korean Hallyu wave, and there's an increase of South Korea consumer good exports.
Wow,
So
that is really impressive.
Yeah, those are a lot of things they're doing just by not and that's why I mean like it goes deeper than just their music, because I don't think music alone can probably just like do all this, but with everything incorporated with their technology, their personalities, and like their music and stuff, and they're continuously showing that their like love for their fans and stuff, and keeping engaged with fans. I think those all play a role in everything that's going on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, BTS's social media presence and the way that they work social media is definitely different from anything that we've seen before. But I think it's hard to like attribute that much to BTS solely, because I really believe that everything like the rise in tourism that's coming to Korea, the amount of people that are coming over to Korea, and the things that BTS does kind of outside of the music scene, I think a lot of it is attributed to technology and accessibility and people kind of wanting to explore more. And I think BTS kind of piqued people's interest, but I don't think that it's BTS alone that's making people want to come to Korea and engage in more things from Korea.
I mean, also, but like in like just little different things like shows and stuff, you hear like BTS's name mentioned all the time, and it's like when people are starting, when like you hear South Korea, like most people are gonna think like, oh, BTS are there, like they think about, I guess, the different historical facts of Korea and stuff, but the main thing is like, oh, BTS are there and stuff like that.
I can see that. I mean, I've definitely been in Korea and I've had Korean people come up to me and the first thing they ask me is like, do you like BTS? So I'm not gonna like say that it's not impactful. I just can't say that it's just because of BTS. Because, like I said before, I don't see BTS doing anything innovative. I don't see them doing anything that's like only BTS is doing this. You know what I mean? I definitely think with the social media rise and the new use of social media for like influencing and things like that, I definitely think that BTS was one of the first to get in front of that, and then they're definitely one of the main groups that's continuing to do that. You know what I mean? But I don't think that it's much more than that, because when we talk about things that BTS does kind of outside of their music, I know BTS is really about like empowerment. They talk a lot about mental health, mental illness, that kind of stuff. I think they do a lot for all of that, but I think we have to kind of attribute a lot of that to BTS's influences. You know, BTS is heavily influenced by hip hop music, and hip hop music is almost always talking about, or hip hop music back in the day. Now, I'm not talking about like now, but hip hop music when BTS was younger and when they were being influenced was always talking about social issues and things like that. And so I think the things that BTS are doing, the things that BTS are like making music about and that kind of stuff, I think it all kind of comes from Black people, from hip hop music and the things that were influenced by them. And I think the reason that BTS does so well, not just in the West, but I think the reason that BTS does so well in Korea and in other Asian countries is because, I mean, BTS isn't saying anything new. They're saying the same thing that Black people have been saying forever. Hey, I'm depressed. Okay, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm out here, I'm depressed, I'm not feeling well. Nobody around me understands like my social issues, my mental issues right now, whatever. But I think it's a lot more digestible for an Asian market because they're not Black. It's not coming out of Black mouths. And I don't think it's just the Asian market. I think it's kind of all over the world because people don't really want to hear things from Black people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was about to say, like, in general, people just don't want to hear what Black people have to say. We've been dealing with this for so long, like, but I'm not gonna hold you there. Like, those are definitely valid points. I did want to also add that with their popularity, they launched Love Myself Global Campaign to fight against violence. They also gave a speech at the UN for global ambassadors, and even Time magazine called them the next generation leaders.
Wow, that is really impressive. But as much as BTS does, I think it just goes back to that point that I don't believe genuinely that any Western media source actually knows how much BTS does. I don't think that any Western media source actually knows how impactful and influential BTS is to their fans. And not just talking about like record sales and that type of thing. I don't think people understand the connection that BTS has with their fans. So I don't think that these media sources like Time or People or anything like that are actually displaying BTS because of the things that BTS does. I think that they're just talking about BTS because they know if I say BTS in this article, Army is going to pull up and Army's going to promote this and we're going to sell millions of copies. You know?
Mm-hmm. I think it also is the fact that like people just like the Western, like we already know about like the Western industry and stuff, like they don't want to give credit where it's due normally. So I think that has a lot to do with it also. Like they very much could like play more BTS on the radio. They could incorporate it in our stores and stuff, but because that's just not how things work over here, I think that's definitely the reason why.
Why do you think it is though that like K-pop's not there yet? What's like stopping like K-pop from being played on the regular radio? What's stopping BTS, and not just BTS, K-pop from being as mainstream as why doesn't BTS have like a Fashion Nova ad? You know what I mean? Why are they not, you know,
because like America, they don't want to give anyone like what they do with Black people. Like they don't want to give people the platform or the like they just don't want to promote it because they can't accept that BTS are doing so much and they're speaking a different language. Like not a single album is in English, and they have a hard time grasping that. So I think that's definitely the reason why, like, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really a shame because I mean there's so much talent that's coming out of Korea, you know.
Yeah,
and it's a shame that people just aren't willing to look past a simple language barrier to You know what I mean? To really get these people the respect and accolades that they really deserve out here. I don't know the time. I don't know how much time we've taken. It's 6:30 now. Girl, you know I'm bad at math. We did 10 minutes for our opening, and then yeah, so then it's probably time for us to start answering questions. Do you have any other? Oh, I'm sorry. Probably time for our closing statements, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other points or anything before we get into that?
I'm trying to look through my notes now. I'm telling you, like, I feel like I couldn't prepare enough. There was so much information. So I have article links that I will definitely send your way.
Do that. We can definitely continue this conversation. I think it'd be good too, because I mean, we're gonna be putting this on YouTube, so maybe we can put together a full Google Doc of all the information that we have in case anybody wants to read up on it.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but their appearance at the Good Morning America and the Genius World Records, and I mean, you kind of brushed on this, but like their engaged fan base is the main reason why like people were so like, well, what's that? Like, what's going on with them?
That's really, really what I think is setting BTS apart is the ARMY and how engaged the ARMY is and how much the ARMY cares about BTS's success. Not to say that other fandoms don't care about their faves' success, but I don't think any other fandom puts as much work in as ARMY does.
Right. I guess for like I have maybe a few more points for my closing statement, but it will just come like full circle with the rest that I have to say. So if you wanted to finish your closing statement first.
My closing statement is that we all know how talented BTS is, and we all know how humble BTS is, and we all know how important BTS's roots are to them, are to their artistry, are to their music. And I think by saying that it's only BTS that's paved the way, I'm not saying, because I know that you already said that you don't agree that it's just BTS, but I think that by giving all of that up to just BTS, I think we all know how to BTS's message. It takes a lot away from what BTS cares about, and it takes a lot away from who BTS is today. So I think that when you speak about BTS and all of the things that they've done, I think that it's extremely important to talk about where they came from and the people that came before them, because you've mentioned before that BTS talks about the different groups that have influenced them all the time. BTS is, they're not the type of people that want all of that on them. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I don't think that they're the type of people that are like, yeah, it was me that did this shit. It was me. You know what I mean? I think BTS is all about making sure that people understand that there were things that came before them. And I think that we should always acknowledge that.
I did want to say for my closing statement that like, definitely I never was like 100% saying like they fully paved the way. I think they're opening up so many doors for more groups for the fourth generation to come, to not be as underrated as they were previously. Also the fact that, I'm sorry, this is
all good.
Like, so I did just remember the other point I wanted to make, that like before this, like I guess around like 2012 or before then, even like early 2000s, like it seemed like people were tired of the groups because they were like same with the form big three companies, like they were producing like the same type of artists and stuff. And I think with BTS like incorporating all this stuff like with technology and who they are as people and their personalities, and putting like I guess just them completely in their music instead of it just being like, oh, someone wrote this for me and like here you go. That definitely helped.
But I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just the last thing I would say is like just to repeat, is that they are still in the midst of paving the way. It's definitely not completely like over.
Right. I definitely agree with that. I think this was a really good conversation. I definitely learned a lot more about BTS and their impact and the things that they've done. I've always respected BTS. You know, I fuck with what they do. But I definitely have gained some more respect for BTS and the things that they do. You really taught me a lot, so I appreciate that.
I appreciate everything you said too. Like, it's spot on.
Thank you. I think this was cute. This was good.
Yeah.
Let's start opening up these questions. See what everybody else thinks. See what we got.
Oh no.
Girl, they in here. Let's see here. What do you think about the term BTS pop? I've never heard that before.
I've heard that definitely on Stan Twitter. I think just because people don't want to kind of group them with K-pop. So I think that's what they're referring to.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys think that BTS gets a lot of success because of looks? Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think that's with everybody though. Like, if you're looking crazy, people are gonna be less likely. That's just like kind of that will fall into like I guess pretty privilege a little bit maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, if BTS was looking how Psy looks, you know, y'all would not be standing the way y'all stand. Okay, that's one thing I think everybody can agree on. BTS looks good. Okay, they look good. I think armies are mixing up, paving the way with popularity. Yeah, I definitely agree with this. I think it's kind of like how we said that the way isn't all the way paved yet, and I think that a lot of people in the army do kind of get caught up in, well, BTS is doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this, and not actually talking about the things that they're doing to make K-pop a better place, make K-pop more accessible for everyone.
Of course, I disagree with that statement, but we'll be here all day. I'll send you articles.
Yo, let's see here. Which year do you think was BTS year?
2017 for sure. I'm gonna say 2017 because that's the year that they really took off. They went to the BBMAs, etc. Like, and from there, just kind of domino affected of them going to different award shows and stuff.
See, I think it's just 1 year before in 2016 when they came to KCON in New York. I think they went to LA too, I believe, but they really I think KCON really started like the rest of the trend. You know what I mean? But I mean, KCON comes in the summer, so that's kind of later in 2016. So I can definitely see it going into 2017. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's what I think. Let's see here. Oops. The heck? Do you think armies contribute everything to BTS, like concepts, clothing, everything? I think there's some armies that get really caught up in things that BTS does and not wanting to take anything away from BTS, that they don't understand how to give credit to other things, because BTS, like every other K-pop, is highly, highly, highly influenced by Black pop culture. So I think a lot of armies hate to hear that. Okay, that's what I think.
Not here.
You think the same?
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah, for sure.
I think armies kind of need to follow in what BTS is doing and kind of give that credit to what's it called? Like, give it to where it belongs, something like that.
Yeah.
Is it really paving the way if no other artists can be where they are? Hey, now that's kind of a good point, because there are new opportunities opening up for other K-pop groups. But I mean, if you were to go ask somebody on the streets here, like in the US, like, hey, name 5 K-pop groups, they would name BTS, and that's it. You know what I mean? I don't think the regular person kind of knows that much about K-pop. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I mean, I think it's possible. Like, if it was possible for BTS, I think someone like another group, maybe in the future, who knows, could possibly get to that point too.
I agree. I think in the future, I think K-pop's going to become even bigger than it is now, and I think there's going to be more opportunities for everybody. K-idols could use their influence to address racism in Hallyu. Thoughts? I think that it goes to their fan bases. I think a lot of y'all are not trying to hear that. That's what I think, because you're talking about, and I'm not trying to call you out specifically, but you're talking about K idols not using their influence, but there are a handful of K idols that do use their influence for things like this. BTS has actually addressed police brutality before. They've had things about it. Who else? G Dragon has also addressed like when the Trayvon Martin thing was going down, all that. And I think people they're not really trying to hear all that. It gets brushed kind of under the rug, is what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely could speak up, but like everyone else, you know, they probably won't anytime soon.
Right. I agree. Let's see what we got. We got a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna go live with a couple more people, with 2 people. Let's see here. Do you guys feel like toxic armies make BTS as a group look bad? I do. Yeah. I don't think necessarily they make BTS look bad, but I think it turns people off from BTS. I've heard a lot of stories about people that got into K-pop and initially were into BTS, and then the army kind of turned them off of BTS. Is what I think.
Yeah, I think it's very like, it's overwhelming, especially when you don't know anything about it. Like, people will take it way too far when it's not that serious, and drag like too much into it. So I think they can definitely turn them off from BTS, but that's just an unfortunate thing.
Mm-hmm. Armies need to do better, y'all.
Especially if I'm repping you guys.
No, for real. I think it's such a shame that like so many armies get a bad rep and then give that bad rep to all the rest of the army. You know, I really think that that's really whack. Y'all should really do better, not just for BTS, but also for your fellow K-pop stans, your fellow fandom members, because all y'all get a bad rep. Anytime you say army, people automatically have a really negative connotation about it. And I really wish that we could change that, because I mean, BTS is so positive. BTS is about, you know, empowerment, being there for each other, and
exactly
do not be doing what they need to do.
It's like they're going against what the message is about, and I'm like, okay.
What do you think of racism on TikTok, girl?
Let's not even get started.
Okay, that's a debate for another day. Okay, it's a mess. Okay, let's see here. Let's talk about how Black people are the blueprint. We influence all those K-pop idols, and that's on period.
Like I said, I'm not gonna even hold you there.
And that is what it is. One of the points that I had when I was talking about Black people and Black producers that do a lot for K-pop, I mean, like Teddy Riley and Music Soul Child have produced for SHINee, NCT, Red Velvet, J Park, and so many more. So I think for people to try to deny Black people's influence in K-pop is just ridiculous.
Yes.
Girl, let's see. Would other K-pop groups be able to book stadiums for concerts without BTS's success? That's a really good question.
That is a good question. I mean, like I was saying, like, I think they're paving the way for the next generation of K-pop. So I think maybe there's definitely a possibility.
Okay.
Like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like it would be, I don't think it's possible for BTS to be only like that group that had such a large fan base to get them to stadium concerts. Like, there has to be another generation that's gonna love their group just as much. So
right. I think that there's definitely other groups that have booked stadiums before BTS. I mean, KCON is a huge event. It's been going on for years now, and KCON is done in stadiums. So, I mean, there's that. Let's see what else we got. Oops, wrong thing. We got 5 more minutes. Yeah, about 5 more minutes, and then we'll have some more people come up into this thing. Do you think BTS at a point in their careers where they don't have to put out quality because of their, I'm assuming this is because of their like success already. I don't, that is kind of tough. Because
I think
Africa paved the way.
What are you gonna say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was rereading the question because I just had a point. No, I don't think that at all. Just because, like, literally, on like fans, they pay attention to their music and what they're saying. Like, everything's like translated and stuff like that. So I think for them to not put out quality would kind of be like a disservice, and everyone would be kind of like, maybe check them on that, maybe like a handful, but there are other fans that would be like, oh no, but yeah, I think people would definitely probably call it out.
I think it's kind of, I'm kind of half and half on it, because I definitely think that there are some armies, and this isn't just armies, this is any fandom. I think there's definitely some fans that no matter what their fave puts out, they're going to support it. They're going to make sure that it does numbers, period. But I mean, think about all the times. BTS is extremely versatile. They've definitely tried to experiment with their style. They've definitely done a lot of different things. And every time that there is kind of a shift in that, trying something new, there's definitely a lot of backlash. When they did the song with Steve Aoki, there was a lot of people kind of upset. They're like, what is this EDM shit? Like, I mean, like,
Yeah.
people upset. And so I definitely think that it's half and half. Let's see here. Chili, you said BTS aren't doing things differently, but they're doing things like Connect BTS, which is an exclusive thing. I don't know what Connect BTS is, so I'm sorry for that. Do you know what that is?
The Connect BTS, I think that's before like the comeback. I could be wrong.
Okay. Is it like, what do they do?
People gonna check me on this. I'd rather say I don't remember, because I don't want to get it wrong, and then people are like coming for my throat.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're not completely sure what this is, and we don't want to say the wrong thing. So sorry about that. Let's see. The Western media loves bigging up celebs and then feeding off their fall. Do you think that is what's happening? I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, believe ARMY will never let BTS fall. That's what I believe. So I don't even know. I don't foresee that for BTS. I do not at all. I think BTS will be BTS forever, and they always gonna be doing their thing as long as the ARMY is alive and well. That's how I'm feeling. We got about 2 minutes left. I'm gonna take one more question, and then we're gonna say goodbye to Michaela, and we're gonna go live with 2 people. So make sure y'all go ahead and put your little request to join this live up in the little thing. Let's pick a good one. What do you think about armies calling multi-stan armies fake for supporting other K artists? Oh, I think that's pretty whack. Personally.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's stupid. Like, why would you say, like, it's just like, you should be able to stand many groups without, oh, sorry, I saw the comment that involved me. No, but I think you should be able to stand without like having to be like, oh, I need to stick with this one group. Like, people should be able to broaden their horizons, and like, you know, so I really don't, that's really dumb.
I think it kind of goes against what BTS is about. I think BTS has a really strong connection to Korea, and I think BTS wants Korea itself to succeed. Korea itself is going to succeed. The more artists that we have, the more talent that we have, the more things that other artists are doing. So I think telling people that they shouldn't be supporting other K artists is pretty whack, and I think it's going to really stunt the growth of K-pop if you really want K-pop to become mainstream the way that we want it to be.
Yeah.
Well, Michaela, thank you so much for coming through. This was a really great debate. I really enjoyed this.
I did too. I love us being able to express our opinions and start a conversation. So hopefully,
hopefully they don't hit us up on YouTube. Right?
I'm gonna deactivate now.
Girl, well, thank you for coming through. I'm gonna go ahead and let some other people come on live.
Okay, bye.
Y'all definitely make sure y'all follow my girl Michaela. Check her out. Let's go live with some people. Let's see what they think about this. How did y'all think about the debate? Who do you think won? Questions that need answers. I'll definitely.
Oh, hi.
Hi, hello, welcome.
I don't even have my light on.
Girl, it's okay. Your skin is.
Girl, I got an Android. I'm looking like a potato.
Girl, don't do yourself like that, because I would have never knew. I would have never knew. Girl, your
Actually, I
looks were.
honestly didn't know if you would accept because I'm Michaela's best friend, and I was just like wanted
Oh,
to see.
not y'all trying to gang up
But
on me.
no, the debate was so good. I loved it. Oh,
Thank you. Which
yeah.
side are you on? Who do you think? Do you think
Honestly,
is the way?
honestly, man, it's like really hard because I when Michaela told me about this subject, I was leaning more towards pave. Yes, they paved the way,
Mm-hmm.
but then I was like, I mean, there's so many other artists that have done things before them,
Right.
and I was also confused about the question. Like, when you say pave the way, do you mean pave the way for K-pop in America?
Yeah, that's kind of
Okay.
paved the way for K-pop in the West. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like, I think that they everything that's done like K-pop wise here is like kind of is geared towards more the guy groups, not gonna lie. Like if it's like
Mhm.
BTS and NCT, uh I have heard more about NCT coming in, but like BTS, they probably did more so pave the way, but I feel like I could be on both sides. Like you
Right.
can argue, I can argue both sides, but I think there is more with paving the way than not. Sorry, I'm bad at this.
No, no, no. It's all good. It's all good. We really wanted to hear different opinions from everybody. I think a lot of people like you were kind of like on the line, kind of like on the fence, like about the issue. I think it's kind
Mhm.
of a hard thing, kind of like Michaela's main point, talking about how the way isn't all the way paved yet. I think it's kind of hard for people to pick a side when K-pop's not where it needs to be at yet, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, like yeah.
Well, thank you for coming through. Thank you for
Mhm.
watching. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Oh, she was a cute girl. I don't appreciate y'all trying to set me up, though. I do not appreciate that. Okay. Let's hear from the next person. Make sure y'all check out this live stream. It'll be on YouTube hopefully by tonight or tomorrow. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Miss
I have my
Yumika. How
bonnet
are you?
on, and I'm not
Ain't
taking
nothing
my
wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong. It's quarantine, girl. Where you gotta go?
I personally, I'm not on the side of BTS Pay the Way because I've been, Armani, shut up. I've been into K-pop 2007,
Okay.
and I got to K-pop through Wonder Girls.
Okay.
And a lot of people, like, I think BTS had worked very hard. I was an ARMY. Like,
Mhm.
I joined ARMY. My first comeback was Run. So I was an ARMY for a little bit. But I feel as though BTS worked very hard, but luck did play a factor into them breaking into the Western market.
Okay.
I think
What do you mean by luck?
and I mean luck just because of like right timing. Like
Okay.
it was all
Right.
just timing.
Right.
And I think that armies have a way of like kind of turning people off from BTS as you mentioned because like
Mm-hmm.
I think BTS are so talented. I think they're very humble. I think they deserve all their success. But I think as though a lot of armies feel as though it's the struggle Olympics. Like
Right.
they're the only
Right.
group that struggled. They're the only
Right.
group that worked hard. They're the only group like they're not. You know?
Right.
I think that BTS has success and they will I feel like they always will deserve their success. But
Right.
I
Definitely.
think that as the person mentioned earlier, if BTS paved the way, why can't anybody else walk on that paved road? Like
Right.
y'all say BTS isn't K-pop, they paved the way for this and this and that, but let any other group try to walk on that road. They're like, no, you're turning number one, we're gonna get you off number one. Oh, you're doing this? No, y'all can't have that. That's BTS only. And I'm like, so what are they paving the way for if no
Right.
other groups can come?
I mean, like, look at that Zico incident
Yeah.
when Zico's song was trending and it was beating out a BTS song, and one really toxic army actually went out of their way to make a fake page from Zico and put out fake information that was extremely racist and make people kind of get turned off from Zico. I don't think that kind of like somebody said before about how army's kind of not with people being multis, not with people supporting other groups and other K artists. I think that Army is really gatekeeping a lot of people from coming up.
Mm-hmm.
That was
And
a
it
really
just
good
makes
point.
me sad because I feel like BTS deserve their fandom, but they don't deserve the toxicity that's in their fandom.
Very
I think
true.
the toxic fans, y'all just need to be eradicated from K-pop as a whole, because you can't use black outrage to get your group to trend, you know?
Right. Right. Seriously. I definitely agree. And it's such a shame because I mean Army does all this and we're only talking about Toxic Army.
Yeah,
Toxic Army does all
me.
this.
If the shoe doesn't
And,
fit, we're not talking about you.
right. Move on. Like, okay, Toxic Army does so much to hinder other people's success that it
Mhm.
makes people kind of like, well, if BTS is so talented, if BTS can do XYZ, then why are you doing all of this? You know what I mean? And then it kind of gets back to this whole like kind of hate that people have for BTS and for armies. And I think
Yeah.
that if armies would just take a deep breath,
Just like breathe, like you can't
okay.
get like they get like they start seething if someone's like, oh, I don't listen to BTS, and they're like, what? Where's your address? Or if you're black,
Right.
like talking about things, you need to be lynched and stuff, and I'm like, all of this over K-pop, you know?
K will never, ever, ever
Never
be
be
that
that deep.
ever. And oh my goodness. Well, girl, thank you for coming on. I appreciate all your points. You made some good points, girl. Thank you. Bye. Yes. Well, y'all, this has been our very first debate. I hope you all enjoyed it. Definitely tune in. It'll be on YouTube in the next couple of days, so be on the lookout for that. We definitely want to hear everybody else's opinions, so make sure that we continue this conversation on Twitter and on our Instagram. Let us know who you think actually won this debate. You know, let us know. And thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate it. Make sure y'all stand. Okay, BTS, make sure y'all support them because they're out there doing what they need to do. Thank y'all for coming through. Okay, bye.